Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with the exciting X Patrol. And this was part of the Amalgam, one of those words, event that happened back in the early 90s. And looking at it now in modern times, I can kind of see where it wasn't that exciting back in the day. But looking back at it through rose-tinted glasses with some nostalgia, this was very, very interesting. Now, for those of you that don't know, back in '96, the two big comic companies, DC and Marvel, did an event called Marvel vs. DC. From the way I understand it, because I never read it, wish I had, the first appearance of all these crossover characters like Spider-Boy, X-Patrol, Darkclaw showed up in that event. And there's two different biggies, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, from both universes. You know, after the event was over, the Amalgam universe refused to go away. So they just created this pocket universe. It's a real interesting concept. Make sure to check it out. Now, this book, The Exciting X Patrol, is a spin-off of the original 96 book. So there's some things here that you may get lost if you never read the original books, which, one thing I don't understand is if these books bomb so hard, I don't understand why these things are so freaking hard to find. Like, trying to find Darkclaw nowadays is ridiculous. And the same goes for here. I found this at one of our malls, and I went, yeah, I'm going to grab this, even though it's not the original. But let's go ahead and jump into this book because I, for the most part, enjoyed it. Now, the print date on this was June 1997. This is Barbara Kessel, writer, Brian Hitch, penciler, Paul Neary, inker, Richard Starkins and Comic Crafts doing the lettering, Joe Andriana doing the colors, Digital Chameleon doing the separations, and here's everyone else working on the book. And again, I love how they put Jay Gardner, world builder, Bob Harris, center of the universe. I thought that was kind of funny. We open up on these two characters. Now, this opens up, I guess, on what happened in the original run with the actual Brood. So I'm glad that the dialogue here kind of catches you up, so I'll go ahead and read that just so we can all have some context. Beneath the island nation of Zenosha, in the fetid underground caverns that are home to the cult of Brood, two warriors defy the horrifying undeath threatening them. As a princess warrior on her subatomic homeworld, Tamajoran, shatters Starfire, which you think that they could have given Corey a different name instead of just smashing her name and Shatterstar's name together, like, I don't know, like Shatterfire, but Shatterstarfire just sounds a little too, yeah. Has known all manner of terrors. So the sight of roiling swarm of broodlings intent on infesting her living body with their parasitic young causes her brave heart to beat only slightly faster. Since their rage is nothing compared to the wrath she now faces from Niles Cable, the future-born leader of the X Patrol. So again, Corey is mixed with who she is, along with Shatterstar. You can see that through the blades, the helmet, and then Niles Cable. I cannot remember, is the leader of the Doom Patrol, is his name Niles? I can't remember, but it's a mixture of him, Cable, and Professor X. He's in a hover chair. He has the techno-organic virus. But I just love how the book opens. An action, dynamic, semi-Dutch angle panel going on. And just seeing Corey, even though it's a different version of her, just seeing her go to town on these Brood is just a way to draw you in. And then, just so you know, for those of you that may not be as apt in comic reading as I am, or many of us, X Patrol is obviously a mashup of the X-Men, I think a little bit of Doom Patrol, and the Teen Titans. So in the Teen Titans, the two main villains during the Wolfman-Perez era was Brother Blood and Deathstroke. So for this one, we have Brother Brood, who's allowed the Queen Brood to implant him, and instead of being part of the blood cult, it says here, once he was just the charismatic leader of the parasitic cult of blood. But this unholy man found true power by allowing himself to be taken by the alien Brood Queen. Now he is Brother Brood. So Corey and Niles here are just overwhelmed. And Corey has to flee because he's like, go, get help. Get the others in return. And so Niles is left to whatever Brother Brood wants done to him. And here we kind of get a little bit of backstory on the original run, which is done through dialogue, okay. But at the same time, if you hadn't read the first run, you're going to feel a little lost. And the home, not the home planet, but the hideout is called, it tells you somewhere, but I can't remember where it's at. I'm not going to worry about it. But we have kind of a Jean Grey / Wasp change. Her name's Janet, so kind of a Janet Van Dyne character. We have Husk, and then we have Froyalman, which is majority of, I think, Metal Man and Colossus. And then we have Beast Logan, so this is a mixture of Beast Boy and Hank McCoy. And so he has a little bit of the quips that Logan has, but for those of you, his name's Garth Logan, I think. Garth Logan, I think is his name. But Garth, he has a little bit of Garth's personality, but he has Beast's intellect. And now they're chastising Corey for abandoning him, but he's like, we have to go save him. And there's no question that we have to save him. But how do we do it? We're just not going to run into their willy-nilly. Now, one thing that I thought was kind of really odd about this book is they introduced this rock character who's in a relationship with Janet, and his name is Jericho. For those of you that don't know, Jericho is actually from the Teen Titans, and he is the son of Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. So this was kind of a way 180, which is okay because there's a surprise, which I'm going to do my best not to give away. But it's kind of a neat little red herring in a sense. So let's get past all the that, and then here I like that Kessel here makes sure to kind of bring everybody up to speed on who these characters are. So we have Elastigirl, life-loving rich girl whose favorite mutant adventure introduced her to Niles Cable. Will she lose him now? And I like how it's just kind of, those old school, will the heroes get to them? What type of dastardly deeds await our dynamic duo type thing? And it just adds to the book. And then we get Hank Logan, Beastling, Emerald Hued Shapechanger, Scientist, and Maven of Pop Culture. If Niles is lost, will the X-Patrol disband, sending the merry mutant back to the cold halls of academia? And then we have Dial Husk as her name. There used to be a hero, what was it called? Dial H for hero or something like that. So I think that was what the poke at is here. So with the spin of her amazing H-Dial, Paige changes shape and powers as easily as shedding her skin without Niles' guidance. Will she be able to discern who the real Paige is? And as I just said a moment ago, this is Jericho, the mysterious man who showed up one day on the arm of Janet Van Dyne. Does he hope to take Niles' place in the X-Patrol and her heart? And then Peter Rasputin, the Pharaoh Man. His iron mask hides a face not even a mother could love. If Niles is gone, how will he find his missing twin? And then, of course, Princess Corianne Drew. Her energy blast and sword make her a fearsome fighter. Can all her war-sharpened skills return her to Tamajoran if Niles is lost? So see how we're introduced, we get a nice little blurb of all the teammates, and it wasn't like, oh, Beastling, he's just a grumpy frumpy, because they try to do a lot of cutesiness in the modern books. No, it was quick and to the point, and now you have an idea of at least of who all the characters are. Now, as I said a moment ago, this Jericho is a new character. Nobody's really trusting him, and the reason being is they lean heavy. From what I understand, the original X-Patrol, they lean heavy into the Judas contract, which was done by Marv Wolfman and George Perez back in the 80s. They introduced a character named Tara, and she was this hot-headed little bitch. And you come to find out that she's working with Slade Wilson, so spoilers if you've never read it, sorry. But they kind of do, they call her X-Tara in this book, and she was taken by the Brood, essentially. And she betrayed the X-Patrol. So they kind of have a lot of trust issues, and so this new guy that came with Janet, they're just like, how can we trust this guy? And Elastigirl, Janet, sorry. I keep wanting to just say the Wasp, and I'm just like, that's not who we're talking about here. She's like, how can I make the others trust him the way that I do? And how do I trust him? And then, of course, one thing I've always liked about the Brood is, of course, they're always a nod to the aliens, so everything always kind of has that hive look about it. And then we're introduced to this other girl named Ravenia, I think is how you pronounce it. So it's obviously supposed to be Raven, as you see the logo, the hood, and she was the original love of Niles Cable. And so it's interesting, the ultimatum that she gives him here, because he's infected with the Brood, and there's a way around it. For those of you that know what Cable battles with every day, you'll kind of get the hint, but I'm not going to spoil it. I want you all to read it. And there's a lot of, There's a lot of talk of the future, which I'll get into here in a minute and explain why I think that's kind of a pain in the butt. But after all this sort of build up and a call to action, we finally get some great action, and we just see this team bust into it. And I like how Paige here, instead of our normal Generation X husk where she just tears her skin off, which is a cool concept, here when she dials, she actually turns into a whole new character with a whole different type of personality. And she's like, I just need a minute to change. And he's like, oh boy, how do we pronounce this? Artemisty Knight, the bionic Amazon archer. My cyber demonic accuracy will make short work of these vermin. So I wonder if that's supposed to be like Misty Knight from the Marvel Universe. But I like how it's just like a whole 180 of her normal personality. And then what also kind of raises the stakes for Paige in this book is her shape-shifting time is limited. So it's just kind of like, oh boy, you hope that she can at least get things done in a timely manner. Sorry, I've not had enough coffee yet. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it right here. They come and they find Niles. Now, why does he look almost like Sugar Man and this horrible monstrosity of a beast? Who's this new redheaded kid that's on the block? There's a lot of interesting little ideas that they throw into this book. So, yeah, now was X Patrol, like the next hot take in the world? No. Was it fun, exciting, and interesting to see two of your favorite, maybe three if you include Doom Patrol, favorite franchises mixed into a book? Hell yeah. And just kind of seeing how the Brood would interact in a DC universe and vice versa, with Coriander being sort of like Shatterstar, and then we have this guy that's sort of Doom Patrol, sort of Cable, sort of Professor X. Just an interesting idea. Now, from what I understand, is I don't think there's a follow-up to this issue, which is sad because they had a lot of cool concepts. But I think it was a time restraint, so I think the writer wanted to put this out, give the fans of the original X Patrol something to read. But years later, if you can't find them and you stumble upon this, you're just like, wait, what? That's why I thank God for the modern day internet, where you can kind of at least get some backstory. But overall, the artwork was good. I love Brian Hitch's work. I've seen it throughout the years. It was dynamic, wasn't boring. The dialogue moved the plot along just enough. Yeah, there are a couple of exposition dumps, but that's okay. It at least kind of catches you up from the original arc. As I've said, every comic should be someone's first. So that's why I always appreciate those who, through dialogue or action, can at least bring you up to speed enough to be like, okay, I get what's going on here. Now I want to go back and get the rest of the books. Because that's how I did it, is I'd jump in a book, be like, okay, this is what's happening in this, and then I try to go backwards and then continue forward. If you've enjoyed the exciting X Patrol, please, first and foremost, go to your local comic shop and see if you can find one of their back issues. If not, take an afternoon and just dig through their dollar bins, because sometimes you can find some really fun gems. They may not be comics that are worth $500-$600, though sometimes that does happen, but you find some great stories. And This one, like I said, we went to the mall, found a new store that sold old back issues, and I was just digging, and I went, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to get me a copy of X Patrol. Sadly, I couldn't find any more than this. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.